I'm Brian Mountcastle. I'm running for office really because over the last couple years, I personally and a lot of the overwhelming community has been frustrated with the representation that we have at the state level and the federal level. And after talking and looking to see who was going to be our next representative for my neighborhood, my community, I found there was nobody. There was nobody willing to step up, or there wasn't anybody that I agreed with or I thought would be a good person to run. And as a father, as a husband, or as a neighbor, when there's not somebody to push to move your community forward, sometimes you have to do it yourself. And that was how I made the decision to run for House District 35. I think it's, when you talk about budgets and you talk about tax cuts, it's a very tough conversation to have because it's all based on revenue. It's all based on sales. It's based on companies coming in, companies going out. It's also important to take into account the overall economy. I think that there are some good changes that were made in the tax code this last session, but some of the tax cuts for corporations were too deep. And I think we're now seeing that our revenues are coming in and they're below what the projections were. And at some specific line items, they're below what they were in prior years. I think where we have to be careful is that we do not continue to increase taxes on individuals because individuals are the one bearing the heavy load right now of our tax changes that the state has made. I think first we need to find out what the benefit of the film industry in our state over the last 10 to 15 years really is. There were some sweeping changes that were very broadly thrown out to many, many businesses and many industries throughout the state, but the film industry was kept out of that conversation. And so I think I'm absolutely fine with reducing their incentives, but at the same time, I think we need to have a conversation of what are we gaining from the film industry, and is it worth the benefits that we are giving them with reduced taxes and with state funding for some of their programs. When it comes to fracking and offshore drilling, I view those as two completely separate conversations. I want to talk about fracking in the state of North Carolina. I grew up here, and I can remember going to the beach. And as a kid, you'd build a sandcastle, and you enjoyed it, you had fun, but you knew when the water came up and hit that sandcastle, it was going to fall apart. And I guess I view fracking the very same way, and I don't understand the argument and the conversation that is being had right now by the supporters of fracking, that there is no damage or no danger to our state ecosystem with fracking. When you put a product in the ground that is not naturally there, and the whole purpose is to pull out and replace items that are naturally there, you are going to cause problems. And I think my example of me as a little kid, and I think everybody can relate to that, building a sandcastle, when you add liquid to native ground, what happens? It falls apart. So until we know more about it and we can have more studies about it, I do not think we need to allow fracking in the state of North Carolina. If elected in 2015, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at getting our budget in line, because even with all the changes that have been made, we are still running deficits. Our teachers, our state employees, and our local law enforcement officials are underpaid. And our school and at primary, community college, and higher level education is all underfunded. The current General Assembly, my major criticism is they are not moving our state forward. And that is not a Republican or Democrat specific issue. That is an issue of our General Assembly. They are not representing the people of this state, in my opinion. And we need to get those folks who represent us, and I hope to be one of those, to start talking and following the direction and the request and the needs of the folks in their community and our state. With the needs that are out there, I truly think we do need to have a long-term conversation about more public transportation. I do not think we are at a level yet in the state of North Carolina to where we should really go in depth with light rail. I don't think that is something we need to look at. I think we need to start with busing. I also think we need to look at how we zone and build in our communities to make areas more successful. So I think, the first thing we need to do is look at what we can do as a community without spending money. Now that we're talking about what do we need road-wise, I travel all up and down the eastern seaboard. Larger cities, larger states, population-wise, they have HOV lanes. To me, that's the first step. Let's take our high occupant levels and let's add HOV lanes. And let's see what and how that affects our traffic congestion, and then we can have the next conversation. I like to go to step A and then step B and step C. I don't want to jump to C just to say, look at this grand, expensive program we're going to do. Well, let's do what actually will work and will help with what we're trying to do. No, I believe that a judge has the authority to make the decision, and that jurors have the right to make a decision based on the information that is presented to them in the court of law. I do not think North Carolina needs a full-time legislature. I think it's very important for the people that are voted in as representatives to actually spend time in their community. And to me, that gives them the ability to know what is needed in their neighborhood. I think if we go to a full-time representation, then you're going to have people that are kind of separated. They're going to stay in Raleigh. And I think for folks like myself, I'm located very close to Raleigh, it won't be that big of an issue. But you look at Rutherford County, Buncombe County, you start going west, or you go to Hyde County or Carteret in the eastern part of the state, a full-time representative will not have the ability to stay part of the community. And how can you represent a community if you are not there talking and listening to their needs? I love my wife and kids. That's the most important thing in my life. Outside of the campaign trail, typical Saturday morning, we are on a soccer field. Both our daughter and our son play soccer, and it is a big commitment, and it is pretty much every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We are on a field getting sunburned somewhere in the state of North Carolina. General and Secretary Colin Powell. I think he is a wonderful bridge between government, community, as well as different heritage backgrounds of Americans. I am a Democrat, and I am a registered Democrat because I believe in people first. And I think the Democratic Party represents the everyday man, blue collar, white collar, and all walks of life. I think, I'm definitely a more center, middle of the road person when it comes to decisions. I believe in social programs, but I also believe that they need to be managed and maintained, and there's not an open checkbook. We need to be there for people, but we don't need to be taken advantage of. And I think I can do that, and I can be myself, and I can follow my beliefs in the Democratic Party.